It's recording. Hey Sarah, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing okay.
I'm well, thanks. And you?
Told you.
I didn't think it would do that if I had it turned. Okay, so now that we're past that, so I'm glad to hear that you're doing okay. So we've been working together for a few weeks now, and we've been working on some different perspectives. Talking to you about your anxiety and some things that you've been doing around your anxiety, working with feelings of how other people see you and incorporating that into ways that you can take how other people see you and internalize that into how you see yourself differently, right?
Mhm.
And you did a worksheet recently on labeling and perspectives, and we walked through that, and you did really well with that and getting through that. And I think you had some insights about some different things between your ex-husband and the way some communication was going with you guys. So the other thing that we've worked on quite a bit has been avoiding your feelings and things that you do that in ways to avoid having the feelings, having the uncomfortable conversations, and doing things to keep from being in some of that situations.
Mm-hmm.
So today, though, I want to take us kind of down a totally different road. It's different than anything that you and I have worked on before. It's still ACT, which is what we've been working on the whole time. And this is still ACT-based program. And what I want to work with you on is more of a mindfulness exercise. It's called the sweet spot.
Okay.
And that got your attention, didn't it? The sweet. I ain't giving you. I got no desserts. I don't have no donuts. No little tasty treats. But what I do have is something totally different than what we've been doing. So what I want to do today is I have gotten a good understanding of what's been going on in your life, with the thoughts and the feelings and everything that's been a whole picture of what's been going on. And what I want to look at today is I want to introduce to you this exercise called the sweet spot. And this is a moment where you would have let go of everything that was bothering you. It would have let go of all your thoughts, of all your struggles, of all your feelings, anything that could have, been bothering you for a little while. This is a point in your life. It could have been recent, or it could have been in the past. This doesn't have to be a big monumental moment, or it could be a big monumental moment. It could just be a little point in time. I just want you to pick a moment, big or small, recent or in the past, where you felt that you were present, engaged, and you had that feeling of sweetness, that feeling of those problems weren't there. You might be in your mind right now, you might be engaging in this like mental ping pong, going back and forth, thinking, what should I choose? Should I choose this? Should I choose that? Like searching for the right moment to talk about. But what I want you to know is that there's no right or wrong answer here. It's just that moment when you felt that. And it's not, like I said, does not have to be a big, huge, monumental moment. Just whatever that sweet spot was. And I'll give you a little example from my own personal life, if that's okay. Mm-hmm. Is it okay? And this might help you figure out maybe how you want to present yours. So this is a long time ago. You know, my children are grown, so this is a long time ago. This is when my baby girl, who is now 29, would have been probably about 8 months old. And I'd gotten her out of the bathtub, and she was all nice and clean and had that little baby smell to her, you know. You put lotion on them, and they're all warm and cuddly. And I had a rocking chair in her room, and I had her all wrapped up in the towel, and she didn't have nothing on but her diaper. And I was sitting in the rocking chair rocking her, and she had a little peach fuzz hair, and I was combing her hair, and we were just sitting there, just us breathing her in, and I was rocking back and forth and playing with her hair, and she was kind of getting that little sleepy face going and yawning a little bit. And I have an older daughter who's basically 4.5 years older. Oh no, not 4.5. She's 5 years older than my second daughter. Almost 3 weeks to the day of 5 years. So she's supposed to be in bed. She's supposed to be being the term. She comes running into the little one's room, but she stops shy of the door, and she sticks her head into the door, and my little one catches her sister, and their eyes lock, and the older one pops back out into the shadow, and the little one just lights up with laughter and just starts, you know, just laughing. And so then the older one pops back into the room, just her head like back into the room, and she stays there for a minute, and the little one looks at her, and then she pops back out, and she waits till she pops out to start laughing, so she's out of her sight before she starts laughing. So they're like playing peekaboo, but it's like almost reverse peekaboo, because she don't laugh when she sees her, she laughs when she leaves. And I'm like, okay. But it was such a beautiful moment. Right. It was such a beautiful moment. It was, you know, between the sisters, and they were having such a good time. And that sweet, nothing else in the world mattered but that sweet moment between those kids. And I got to be there to experience it. Because I don't think that's the first time that the oldest one had come trudging down the hallway to do the peep in the head of the doorway. But so that is a little bit of an, and that's, like I said, it's been a really long time ago, but I'll never forget it.
Right.
So what I would like to ask from you today is if there is a moment in your life, in your time, that we would want to just take some time to really notice all the details that were present, you know, using our senses, using our mind's eye, and filling in those details, you know, like the what happened, the who was there, what was going on, maybe the sounds, you know, if there was any smells, what was going on around us, the feelings that we felt. And we can get to those a lot better when we use what we call our mind's eye. And so our mind's eye is when we like make our body be still, and we close our eyes, our visual eyes. We close our visual eyes, and we concentrate with our mind on what we're looking at in our head. So when you've come to a place where you think you have something that you would like to share, if you would like to do that.
To close my eyes?
Yeah, I would be very much like to hear that.
So I have 3 little ones. I guess my oldest is not so little. He doesn't like being called little. But he's 6. And I have 50-50 custody with his dad. And so then I have my 3-year-old daughter and my 1.5-year-old daughter. And their dad and I are married. So we don't always get to have a lot of like family time because my son's only there 50% of the time. But this past weekend, he was at home with us. And because of my anxiety, I have a really hard time sometimes just letting them be kids, like letting them be messy. And because I'm always like, oh, now I'm going to have to clean it up. How am I going to clean it up? Now it's just going to be a disaster. So on Sunday, so yesterday, the kids had been wanting to paint. And so I kind of been putting it off because I was like, oh, it's so messy and they're so little and they should make a disaster with it. And so my 2 older ones were playing and they were rolling these giant rocks from the driveway down this embankment or down the bank where we're trying to grow grass, which is not working out too well, but they were trying. And so they wanted to show me their game. And I was like, well, why don't we pick a rock and instead of rolling it down the hill, we'll paint it. And so they each picked a rock, and the 2 older ones picked a small rock for their sister because she's 1.5 years old. She didn't understand the concept of picking a rock. And so we went to the craft box and we picked out a bunch of different paint colors. And we went outside and I was like, well, why don't we go to the garage? Because it had started raining. So you could like smell that like spring, summertime crisp in the air that you know it's going to rain. And so we just opened the garage door and we went right inside the garage. And our dog Tilk came into the garage and laid down next to Ellie, my youngest one. And he smells terrible. He's an outside dog. So he smelled like wet dog. Was pretty ratchet actually. But we're sitting there and they've got their rocks out and they've got their little paintbrushes. And our other dog Jackson was tearing apart the paintbrush papers that Landon had taken them out of the wrapper and just threw the wrapper to the side, and Jackson was chewing up the cardboard and plastic. And so I put 5 or 6 different colors of paint in this little cardboard thing. It's like a small box. I guess we'd gotten from like Aldi's or whatever. And Ellie, of course, lost interest. The 2 older ones were painting their rocks, and Ellie lost interest in the rock. And so she took her little chubby hand and she started mixing the paint together with her fingers. And the other kids were like, Mom, she's ruining it. She's ruining it. And I was like, it's art. It's okay. Just let her. It's okay. And so my middle daughter put her head close to the cardboard box. And so my youngest daughter reached over and took her sister's extremely blonde hair and smears it in this paint, which had now turned to like a brown color from where she had mixed it all together. And Finley calmly raises her head and she's got this real like concerned look on her face, and she takes her paintbrush and she dips it down in the paint and she calmly puts it on her sister's face and runs it down her nose. And so Ellie is, at this point, Ellie just now thinks this is a game. So Ellie starts painting on Finley, and then she starts painting her own feet. And Landon's like, just I guess, is going to get a one up on the girls. So he takes both of his hands and he smears it in the paint and just wipes his hands down his face like he's prepared for battle. And so he's just walking around with his hands covered in this ugly brown paint. And his face is just as dirty as all will get out. And then he's got a mohawk. And he's completely shaved on the sides. And he takes his hands and he runs it through his hands. So now his hair's sticking up. And it's this ugly, terrible color. But they were happy. They were happy and they were covered in paint and they were laughing. And a childhood friend of mine was over and he saw what was going on and he decided that he was going to make the kids giggle. And so he painted my face with paint. And I just let it be. I wasn't upset about, oh my God, how am I going to get this paint out of my child's hair? Or it's going to get all over the bathtub when I put them in the bathtub or anything like that. It was just nice to get to see them just being kids and not worried about being messy and that type of stuff. And then when we were done and we decided to clean up, Landon had whispered something to Finley, and Finley was like, "You better not." And Landon ran up. I had on a pair of gray sweatpants, and Landon ran up and stuck his face to the butt cheek of my sweatpants with his painted face. And so I walked around the rest of the night with these pants on because I didn't think about it. And so later that afternoon or later that night, my husband was like, "Do you know you got a face on your butt?" And I was like, "I have a what?" And he's like, "Yeah, there's a face print on the butt of your pants." And so this whole time, my kids kept giggling at me, and I couldn't figure out why. But it was their little way of being like, "Ha, I got mom. She's walking around with a paint face on her butt." But it was nice just to see them get to be kids and not being held back because of my anxiety.
The inner struggle of now all the worry about cleaning it up and how you're going to accomplish all of this and everything that goes along with that whole tangled mess. You were just able to let go of all of that and enjoy the moment, and that feels good, right?
Yeah. I mean, and I guess, with Ellie not knowing any better, and she didn't realize, oh, I'm sticking my sister's hair in paint.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, Finley, being 3, her initial reaction was, well, I'll just put paint on your face. Like, you put paint in my hair, I'm going to put paint on your face.
Retaliation.
And Ellie didn't get mad about it because she's got a real short fuse, and sometimes you're not really sure how she's going to react to something, but she didn't get mad about it. She thought it was funny.
Mm-hmm.
And so her just being able to be okay with, I got paint on my face, and not getting upset about it was good. Because I think in any other situation, if she knew, if she had been older or if it was any other kid, they'd be like, "You put paint on my face,"
Mm-hmm.
and got upset about it. But Ellie was just like, okay, yeah, I could paint my own feet. I got paint already, I might as well. So it was nice. It was good to just be there, not worried about this running list that's constantly in my head. So
that's good. I'm glad you got to have that experience and be able to set that aside, and hopefully through work like this you will be able to put more of that anxiety aside and be able to have more moments like like this with your kids, where you can enjoy those sweet moments more and more, where the anxiety isn't overshadowing what's going on, and you can have those true moments without the anxiety looming over top of you. And that's my hope for you through therapy. So what is your hope for therapy? How will you know when therapy is working for you?
I think once I get to a point where I can really not think about it. I mean, because there's just parts of it that I think are they're just part of my life. It's just the way that I have to do things to function, like making lists and keeping track of things like that. But I feel like even at this point, therapy is working because I'm able to have these interactions with people that are not necessarily desirable interactions. They're not interactions I would want to have if I wasn't being forced to have them. So being able to handle those and to live with those just means that therapy is working.
So you're seeing the benefits.
Yeah, like I can have these interactions with my ex-husband or with his girlfriend, and I can be an adult, and I can put my feelings aside and solely think about my son and be able to just deal with that, as well as my own struggles with, keeping things organized and doing what I need to do and not getting overwhelmed with those types of things.
And you're doing a really great job with that. I know we've talked, not here today specifically, but we've talked recently about how you're handling school through online learning only, and how you're doing your classes and how you're keeping up with everything, and you're doing a really great job on your classes and being able to maintain your grades and this craziness of COVID-19. And so, I don't want that to go by the wayside and you not know what a great job you're doing, because it's not a small task that, to keep on top of all of that with everything that's going on with, the stay-at-home order and having the kids at home and being a full-time caretaker and all your homework and stuff. So you're doing phenomenal.
I definitely won't be sad when the semester's over though.
And I definitely will not be sad either. I think there's a lot of people that will not be sad when the spring semester ends. I think you are in a boat plenty. So, well, that's my session for today. Did you have anything else that you wanted to add? How did you feel about that exercise? Was that enjoyable for you?
Yeah, I mean, it really makes you take the time to really put everything in order and look at everything. It reminds me my dog needs a bath.
Did you have a hard time choosing a moment, or did that come to you really quickly?
I had quite a few moments. I mean, this past weekend, I think it was really just me and the kids, and having all three of them together is something that I really like to take in because it doesn't happen all the time. And since my younger ones are taking big strides, my youngest one's just learned to walk, which is, she's kind of behind the curve on that one because she's 18 months and she's just now learning to walk. But it's something that we can enjoy now. It's not stress. It's not, oh, well, she doesn't do that. So watching the three of them interact and support each other, and we all still get really excited when Ellie walks, and Ellie will stand up and go to walk away or whatever, and Finley's like, look, she's doing it. She's doing it. Go, Ellie. You're doing it. We still get these reactions And so this past weekend, there was a lot of these moments of watching the three of them interact. And because I'm the middle of three, you know, it's nice to see that they get to have that same type of bond that I have with my brother and sister. And so I don't know that I'm necessarily excited about the years to come, because I mean, they are going to turn into teenagers, but at some point, you know, it'll all come full circle and they'll be adults and they'll get it all together again at some point. So,
and they'll always have each other, right?
yeah.
That's what siblings are
Sometimes
about.
you have them even when you don't want them, when you want them to go away.
Kind of like anxiety. You have it even if you don't want it.
Yeah.
Just have to learn to manage it. Anxiety and siblings have a lot of similarities.
yeah, that they do. So
That's another session.
yeah. Maybe they're the reason I have therapy.
Well, then there's that. We'll talk about that next time.
Yeah, it's a good topic for discussion.
Thank you for coming in.
No problem. Thank you.